but in total, whilst SLP has existed, he played 21 times in the Super League. So Sarah gets that one. So as things stand, Alan's on 1 point, Tim is on 3 points, and Sarah's on 2 points. So Alan, you're kind of out of the running. But
never mind,
this player has played the most times in Super League since SLP began at the start of 2014 without conceding a single penalty. He's not been penalised in the Super League since the start of 2014. The
Must
clues
be Shona Loughlin.
The clues are Welsh-born winger who does currently play in Super League. He's played in Super League for 5 different sides, but only played Super League for 2 seasons since SLP began. And he spent a season down under with the Central Queensland Capras in 2014. So it's a Welsh-born Super League winger who's only played 2 times in 2 seasons in Super League since SLP began, but has had 5 total different Super League sides over his whole career, and has spent a season in the reserve grades down under. Sarah, you get to have first guess at this one.
I'm trying to think of any Welsh wingers. And the only one I can think of, I don't even know what his name is. And I don't think he played for 5 teams, so I don't know.
If you can give a rounded description of what he looks like or anything about him, like where he plays, I could maybe accept it.
Oh no, I was about to say he's a winger. He's a winger, he's Welsh, he's male. He normally wears his socks rolled down.
Not quite enough.
I'll have to pass then, if you're not going to accept that as an answer.
Alan, do you have an answer?
I don't think it's quite right, but I'm going to go for Elliot Keir.
Okay, and Tim, do you have an answer?
Rhys Williams?
Ooh.
Okay, yes, Tim, it's Rhys Williams.
Rhys Williams, of course.
Was that who you were thinking of, Sarah?
No.
If you'd said Mo Salah, I would have accepted.
I would. That's why I kind of said about.
If I'd said what? Sorry.
If you'd have said like
Mo Salah,
then I probably would have let it slide. Okay. So how many Super League games has he played since the start of 2014? Bearing in mind we already know that he's only played 2 Super League seasons since SLP began. So who's starting? Sarah's starting.
32.
Alan?
I'm going to say 50.
And Tim?
24.
It's 36. He was an ever-present in Super League for London last year.
I think that's what influenced me.
Yeah, then has played a few games this year before lockdown, so Sarah got that. The final scores are Alan with 1, Sarah with 3, Tim with 4. Tim returns and takes the biscuits.
Takes the spoils. Well done to me.
Good stuff. Right, okay. That's the quiz, and that's our Unsung Heroes talked about. It was sort of Unsung Hero-ish. The quiz-ish. We're now going to wrap up the show with our recommendations. Right, okay, so it's the Any Other Business section of the show where we talk a little bit about our lives in lockdown and any recommendations we might have. Tim, it's been a while since we've had you on. We know you've been busy with lots of family ups and downs and work ups and downs and teeth removals and all of those sorts of things. Have you had the opportunity
You're breaking up on me.
Oh, sorry. I'm just sort of probably broken up on everyone, haven't I then? I'm just talking, just leading in for you really to give you recommendations and tell people what you've been up to in lockdown.
Yeah, so we've been getting up. So since the restrictions have eased, it's been a bit easier because we can get out. But we've got quite a few parks near us. I've quite enjoyed being able to get around and find a lot of the local area, having only moved relatively recently. That's been quite fun. So I've quite enjoyed. We do. Been a few walks. Went to Northwick Park today, which is just up the road, which is quite fun. And we do a walk round by the stadium, which is quite good fun. But in terms of down recommendations, 2 ones I've got. One is the Matt Lucas program, Reasons to be Cheerful, or whatever it's called, on Channel 4. And it's utterly silly, mostly nonsense, but a lot of fun. They've got things like Harry Hill is involved with it, and he does bits of it where he's got a Chris Whitty ventriloquist doll, which is ridiculously fun. Basil Brush has been on it a couple of times, which you can never fail to laugh at, and Sooty and Sweep were involved as well. And it's fun for all the family.
Puppet heavy.
Lots of bit of puppets, but lots of stupid stuff going on, like people dancing to the Skype ringtone, all sorts of weird and wonderful things. It's a sort of sketch show. It moves quite quickly, but it's good fun to watch. And the other thing that we got into and watched really quickly was The Stranger on Netflix. And it's definitely worth it. It's a really good whodunit thriller, and it's really twisty and turny, and you really don't see any of it coming. It's sort of like an ITV drama that Netflix have done, but it's brilliantly scripted and very wrapped in on itself, and you do have to pay attention.
I don't have Netflix, but I'm sure lots of people will get good use out of that recommendation. But the one thing I wanted to go back to was walking around the stadium with no one there, because I know you've been when it should have been like FA Cup semi-final and final days and stuff like that. What's that been like? Has it been weird?
It's been very weird. Yeah, the first time we went, which I think was probably before that, but when there was absolutely, because also there's the big shopping outlet there, and obviously that's all closed off as well, so there's been barely anything. There's a baker's there that opened up, I think sort of January time, and that's started to reopen doing takeaways. That's been, but it's all very weird because there's not a lot around there other than these new residential tower blocks, but the stadium walk itself, the upper level, is all boarded up, so you can't actually get up there and walk around. Because what I was hoping to do was go and get a photo with the Bobby Moore or the rugby league statue, and while there was no one there, but it's all been boarded up, so you can't get through. But it is just like an abandoned town. There's a few people milling around, and there's a supermarket around there and a couple of other bits, but other than that, it's very eerie and very odd. And because what we were doing the week before the school shut and I was working at home, as I was walking Heather to school, and then I was coming back that way or a different way, so I'd still get a walk in the morning. And I walked down there a couple of times then, and it was interesting just watching it sort of thin out as the week went on.
Yeah. I mean, because how much time have you gone into central London at all whilst it's been, whilst the measures have eased a little at least, so you can kind of
no, because we haven't got a car or anything, so we're all just on the on public transport in usual times. So we haven't been. The only 2 times I've left the borough really have been once for the emergency dentist appointment and once for the funeral, and that's the only times I've been anywhere other than a sort of half an hour walk away. So, and it's been very, very unusual. And going from travelling for work and pretty much being on a tube every day, or going somewhere or doing something and being busy at the weekends, to suddenly nothing has been quite a change, and it doesn't look like it's something that will change anytime soon either.
No. I mean, it does fascinate me, kind of the big city living during this time, because I think it's just a little bit quieter around us and stuff in the towns and stuff. But when it's a big, busy super metropolis city centre that's there. I just think it's fascinating. If you do get along,
we live.
See what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a friend who lives very, very centrally because she has ridiculous amounts of money and she's married to a TV producer. But she's been sort of Instagramming pictures from all the tourist spots because they're on their sort of half an hour walk. So she's done Piccadilly Circus with nobody there, Soho's there, all sorts of normally densely populated places with just absolutely no. And the week before it all shut down, I did one. I had to go and collect some stuff from the office, and I did one last walk down by the river. And even then, as it was thinning out, it was quite something. But yeah, it'll be nothing on what it'll be like now.
Sarah, you mentioned it was half term. So what does that mean in terms of like the kids and stuff? Obviously today was a bank holiday, but will they still be doing any sort of homeschool lessons, or is it all off for a week?
It's all off for a week.
Are you relieved?
To be honest,
with
it wasn't. It wasn't very much on last week, I must be honest. It's so hard. Like, just 3 children, all at different ages and stages. I mean, Luke is pretty self-sufficient, really. He takes himself off upstairs to his room and gets on with his work, and then sort of reappears. But the other 2 do need quite a lot of support, especially because they are both dyslexic, which makes life interesting. And I mean, it must be a real challenge, like especially for Joshua's teachers, because he's year 6. So typically, I don't suppose they've ever planned work in the same way for this time of year, because from Easter to last week would have all been SATs build up and then SATs. And then now it's the time that they do the more sort of fun stuff, like the productions and the DT stuff and the projects and all the rest of it. And suddenly they're having to, devise English curriculums for them and maths work for them to do and things. And everything's online, which just means that then they end up, we were saying we were sort of a little bit concerned about the amount of time that they're sitting looking at screens, because obviously all their work is online and then they want to play on whatever devices they've got. But you don't really want them doing that too much, because then they're just permanently on screens. But on the other hand, it does feel a bit mean saying, no, you can't be on your phone or you can't look at your tablet or whatever. And to be honest, some of the work that they've got is pretty dull.
I have found that screen burn's a real thing, like with working and stuff, and that's why we've done things like play cards and board games and stuff is just as something that isn't. And we've sort of tried listening to out music in the evenings as well, rather than watching things, because I do find once I've sat in front of a screen and been on video calls for most of the day, my eyes are just burnt out.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of the things that is a real adjustment, like you say, for the kids, definitely. Like massively more, because when they're at school, they're not looking at screens all the time. And
exactly,
we are when we're at work. We supposedly are, but when someone's phoning me to ask me a question now, rather than coming to talk to me to ask me a question, I'm not looking at that person, am I? I'm on the phone looking at my computer screen still. So even those breaks away, those natural breaks, even us adults would have had in our office working environment, it's not quite there. Yeah. What about any recommendation? Sorry.
I know from a teacher's point of view, Heather's found it really difficult suddenly, having been a class teacher for 6 or 7 years, suddenly adjusting to working in front of a computer, and I've had to be IT support and scurry into the other room every sort of half an hour. Or certainly the first couple of weeks, it was quite fun. Of suddenly, it's not working. How does this work? What do you do? How do you save this? How do you do? So, yeah, and I know they found it very, very different. Whereas, for my sort of job, it's kind of business as usual. You're just not in the office. So there's been some change, but the fundamental way of working hasn't changed in the same way.
So what about any recommendations coming from you to this week, Sarah?
I think just getting out,